Welcome to EduCasts, home of EduCasters. Fast forward to 2025, walk into a modern school, and you will hear an acronym, PBIS, Positive Behavioral Interventions and Supports. This is Skinner on a systemic level. PBIS is a framework that explicitly rejects the old punishment-first model, suspensions, yelling, and replaces it with a structured system of rewards. In a PBIS school, there is a currency. It might be tiger tickets or falcon bucks. If a student picks up trash, ticket. If a student walks quietly in the hall, ticket. If a student helps a peer, ticket. At the end of the week, students can cash these tickets in at a school store for pencils, erasers, or maybe lunch with the principal. This is a token economy. It works exactly like money in the real world. The ticket itself is worthless, a secondary reinforcer, but it represents value. Why do schools do this? Because it works, especially for difficult behaviors. It shifts the teacher's focus from hunting for bad behavior to hunting for good behavior. It changes the tone of the building. Instead of hearing, "Don't run," you hear, "Thank you for walking." There are apps like Class Dojo where teachers click a button on their phone. A happy ding sound plays, and a monster avatar on the screen gets a point. Parents get a notification instantly. It is digital operant conditioning, gamifying the behavior of 6-year-olds. So, if this works so well, why does it make so many educators uncomfortable? Why do some parents hate it? Enter the critics, led by thinkers like Alfie Kohn, author of Punished by Rewards. The argument against Skinner in the classroom is philosophical and practical. It boils down to the difference between intrinsic motivation, doing it because you love it, and extrinsic motivation, doing it for the cookie. 1. The overjustification effect. Psychologists have found that if you take a kid who loves to draw and you start paying them $1 for every picture they draw, they will eventually stop drawing for fun. You have turned play into work. You have replaced the internal drive with an external one. Critics argue that by giving kids tiger tickets for reading books, we are teaching them that reading is a chore that requires payment. We aren't raising readers. We are raising wage laborers. 2. Compliance versus community. Skinner's model is about control. It asks, how do I get this kid to do what I want? It doesn't ask, is what I want actually worth doing? A well-conditioned classroom is quiet and compliant. But is it learning? Critics argue that operant conditioning produces obedience, not ethics. A child who shares their toy only to get a sticker hasn't learned generosity. They've learned commerce. If the stickers run out, does the generosity stop? 3. The manipulation of relationships. When a teacher uses praise as a tool, "I like the way Johnny is sitting," they are weaponizing their affection. They're saying, "My approval is contingent on your compliance." This can damage the authentic relationship between teacher and student. The student starts performing for the teacher rather than connecting with them. 4. Behaviorism ignores trauma. Operant conditioning looks only at the behavior, not the cause. If a student flips a desk, Skinner's model asks, what is the consequence? Give him a detention so he doesn't do it again. But a trauma-informed educator asks, why did he flip the desk? Is he hungry? Is he scared? Is he having a panic attack? Punishing a panic attack, positive punishment, doesn't stop the panic. It just adds fear to the panic. In these cases, strict behaviorism can actually be harmful. Despite the criticism, there is one Skinnerian technique that every great teacher uses, even the ones who hate behaviorism: shaping. Shaping is the process of reinforcing approximations of the desired behavior. You don't expect a rat to press the lever immediately. 1. First, you give it a pellet just for looking at the lever. 2. Then, only when it moves toward the lever. 3. Then, only when it touches the lever. 4. Finally, only when it presses it. In the classroom, this is scaffolding. Let's say you have a student who writes terribly. You don't fail them, punishment, for a bad essay. 1. First, you praise them for just getting a thesis statement on paper. 2. Next week, you praise them for good paragraph structure, even if the grammar is bad. 3. The week after, you raise the bar again. You are shaping the scholar. You are rewarding the growth, not just the final product. This is operant conditioning used for development, not just control. It helps students who feel overwhelmed by a big task to see the small wins along the way. So, where do we land? Is Skinner the villain of creativity or the hero of classroom management? The truth, as always, is in the messy middle. In the present, the smartest educators are pragmatic behaviorists. They understand that you cannot run a room of 30 energetic teenagers without some structure of consequences. You need the bell work routine, conditioning. You need the grades, reinforcement. You need the clear boundaries. However, they also know that you cannot reward your way to deep thinking. You can use a sticker to get a kid to sit in a chair, but you cannot use a sticker to get them to understand the symbolism in The Great Gatsby. That requires curiosity, passion, and relevance, things that live outside the Skinner box. The tiered approach. For rote tasks and safety, use Skinner. Use rewards for cleaning up, for transitioning quickly, for memorizing multiplication tables. Gamify the boring stuff. For creative and high-level tasks, remove the rewards. Stop the grading. Let the work be its own reward. Give feedback, not judgments. Allow for autonomy. We also see a shift from controlling behavior to teaching behavior. Instead of just punishing a student for interrupting, a teacher might use role play, rehearsal, to practice how to enter a conversation. Then, when the student does it right, the teacher gives a subtle nod, reinforcement. B.F. Skinner taught us that we are creatures of our environment. He showed us that the environment is always speaking to us, telling us what to keep doing and what to stop doing. In the hands of a lazy educator, operant conditioning is a tool for manipulation, a way to bribe kids into silence so the adult can have an easy day. It turns the classroom into a vending machine. Insert compliance, receive grade. But in the hands of a skilled educator, these principles are a way to clear the path for learning. By creating a system where effort is rewarded, where expectations are clear, and where feedback is immediate, the teacher reduces the anxiety and chaos that kills curiosity. We are not rats and we are not pigeons. We have complex inner lives, but we are also biological organisms who seek pleasure and avoid pain. The master teacher knows how to work with that biology, using the science of the carrot and the stick not to break the student's spirit, but to guide them toward the habits that will eventually set them free. We use the conditioning to build the discipline. We use the discipline to build the intellect. And eventually, hopefully, the student stops needing the gold star and starts loving the learning for itself. That is the moment the student steps out of the Skinner box and into the world.